All right. Welcome, everybody. We're going to just wait for our broadcast here to catch up. Show us that we've got some folks on. If you can hear me now and you're on the Provest page and you look down below it, you'll see a chat. I'd like you to go ahead and enter your information in there because that is how we're going to be fielding questions. So just want to make sure people can see us. So if you just jump in that chat and let us know that you can hear us and you can see the screen, that'd be great. All right, I'm going to just troubleshoot this for a second. All right. Looks like we're getting going there. Great. Make sure you get your volume all set. Make sure you find the chat box down below. And then what I'm going to ask you to do is enter your name, email, and where it says question, just let us know that you're here and that you can hear us and that everything is working for you, okay? And then we're going to get going. All right, people are still coming on, but I'm going to go ahead and get started with introductions. Pat, my name is Breck Palumbo. I'm the founder of DistressPro.com and Realty Motor. Before that, I was an auctioneer and a broker. I owned a commercial real estate brokerage and worked for a very big auction company, sold a lot of assets. And you probably have seen my face or read some of my emails. If you're here today, then that's probably how it happened. I want to talk a little bit about what my role in this sale is. My friend Pat Blount came to me, and Pat's on today, and he's going to be the one doing this presentation. He came to me and he said, you know, Breck, I've got this new role and this new source of deals that's really exciting, and I feel like, you know, your group and your audience could really benefit from it because we've got a lot of assets that we're going to be just literally blowing out, or as Pat puts it, selling by the pound. And I said, well, that does sound good. That sounds like exactly the kind of thing that my crowd is into, because, you know, we pursue the bank deals and the lender-owned stuff and all that because they're great deals. It doesn't mean that that's the only game in town. There's certainly other ways, and what I think Pat's going to introduce you to today is he's going to really become a fantastic source of these kinds of below market, off market deals as we go forward into this next year. And so with that, Pat has worked, geez, what have you been in the business, 40 years, Pat?
No, 37.
37 years. It's a rounding error there, Pat. Pat had his own sales note brokerage called Benewolf. He worked for DebtX, has worked for a lot of different folks, including himself, and done a ton. How many billions of dollars in deals do you think you've done, Pat?
Oh, I think I estimated one time over 10 billion.
Over 10 billion. And so, Pat, just tell folks a little bit about who you are and what we're doing.
Well, as Breck said, I have a vast history in the distressed debt world and have been involved in that for many years. And I've recently had the good fortune to join a company in Tampa called the Wellfont Group. And the Wellfont Group is involved, they represent nonprofit entities in sourcing, acquiring, and disposing of real estate that has been donated by individuals or Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies that through a program, an internal IRS program called Internal Revenue Code 170, and that's something I'd never heard of until recently. However, it's been around since 1917. Actually, they came up with this code sometime after the advent of the IRS, only 4 years later. So what I didn't realize is that there's $360+ billion worth of transactions of donations a year in this country. About $8 billion of it is real estate. And you've probably seen it and know of real estate that's been donated to universities, hospitals, churches, any type of thing that could receive real estate. Never really thought much about it. I did have an idea that real estate's donated certainly to colleges. What I didn't realize is that when you donate your office building or your mini warehouse or whatever it might be to Notre Dame, they have no plans on keeping that if it's not located in South Bend, Indiana. They're going to liquidate that, and they're going to turn that donation into cash. And so the way the process works is the donor seller gets a tax deduction for the donation. These properties are appraised under this Internal Revenue Service publication 561, and they get an appraisal on these properties. It's pretty much like a replacement value appraisal. A lot of the properties that we see are vacant or surplus type properties, so they'd be very difficult to value on a income approach. Maybe even difficult to value on a comparable sale approach because they're unique properties typically. And so they value them on a replacement cost approach. So they get a really nice tax deduction typically from the nonprofit, which Wellfont originates this deal. They go out and locate a seller donor of these properties. The seller donates the property to the nonprofit, and then Wellfont then liquidates that property, turning that donation into cash. What the nonprofits can't do, and what they're not in the business of, they're not in the real estate business. They're not in a business to reposition real estate, to rehab real estate, to turn real estate around, lease, fix, any of those things. They don't have the money for carrying costs. They don't have the money to do anything or the expertise to do anything. They strictly want to turn the donation into cash. So what you're going to see here today are properties that have been donated to various nonprofits that we are liquidating, turning those donations into cash. We think we know values fairly well, but we also know that regardless of what appraisal says, these properties need to be gone immediately. And we try to make those properties, liquidate those as close to the donation date as possible to defer any carrying costs or holding costs of that. We don't go out and list them on the market for sale with local brokers. You certainly could make more money doing that. That's not the name of our game. Our name of our game is to liquidate properties and go on to the next property as fast as we can. So there's a lot of meat left on the bone on these, and I think you'll be impressed when you see the prices per square foot. As Brett said, the price per pound, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I was excited to do this with you, Pat, because, coming from an auctioneer background, what I really like about a sale, and about this sale in particular, is that what we're looking for is not to maximize the dollar amount, but to eliminate the marketing time. And so anytime that time is more important than the end value, for me as an auctioneer, that's a good deal. So what I want to do now is I want to kind of give some ground rules for folks so they understand how we're gonna proceed for today and how they can make further inquiries, get more information, all that. So the way we're going to do this, and we've got a lot of assets. I think, Pat, are we doing 18 total?
We're going to show 18 properties today.
Yeah. So what Pat's going to do, Pat's going to tell us everything that he knows about the asset, including he's going to give what we'd call in the auctioneer business a release price, or kind of the base price that they'll let it go at. When we get to a property that you're interested in, I'm going to ask you to ask your questions in the chat box below this video on the page. And so if you go there now, you can go ahead and put your name and your email in, and then you're only going to have to do that once. And then as we're going through the properties, you're going to go ahead and ask your question in there. So your chats are private. You're not in a group chat room, but I will read the questions. So if you prefer your questions not be answered live, then feel free to just write that question down, and then you can ask it on the property inquiry form at the end, or after, when Pat and his team engage you after you've left your information there. We're going to answer questions as long as is reasonable about any one asset, but we're going to keep in mind that there's a lot of assets, and we have a goal of about 60 to 90 minutes to cover them all. So if we can't answer your question here, you will have an opportunity to get your question answered after this. Okay. We may be, because of the way that we're doing this, we may be on up to a 30-second delay. I've also seen it be a lot less than that. And so if it takes us a moment to get your question on air, then just please bear with us with that. And so with that, Pat, are there any more ground rules that you want to discuss, or anything else you want to lay out?
I'm glad you asked me. There's a lot of, I know the audience here has been involved in the distressed debt world and loan acquisition world. And like that world, it's a cash market, very short due diligence times, and expect, you're getting a great opportunities here. So, you're not going to get 60 days, 90 days due diligence. You're going to get it's going to be fast. You're going to get to take a look at we suggest you look at the properties. You go get the information that we have available, which sometimes is very limited. But it's not going to be a long drawn out affair. So if you're a 60, 90-day buyer, somebody that needs to get your funds together, this probably isn't for you. It's going to be set up for buyers that can move relatively quickly. We'd like to see bids on these properties no later than November the 18th of this year. And with a 30-day due diligence period from that date, which would put you a closing date no later than December 18th. So this is a busy time of year for this business because people are donating properties for tax purposes. I've got these 18 properties here. The next time you hear from Brecht and I, there'll be another list of properties. So these won't be around to look at. If you like them, go see them, get the information, make an offer, sell it. Get the thing bought.
So let's address that up front also. Folks, obviously we're not going to expect you to pull the trigger on a commercial property just from this one live event, right? And so the purpose of this event is kind of to quickly introduce these to the market, get a lot of eyeballs on them, and start things moving. But Pat, they'll have an opportunity to tour the property or get additional documents from you.
They will. I hope you can see. Brett, can you see my disclaimer page up here?
Yes, I can see your disclaimer page.
I'm going to go through this not real fast, but it's important that we talk about this. This is not an offer to sell or purchase real estate. These properties are described by addresses only and by what we think are the right characteristics of the properties. They may not be correct. The addresses could be wrong. The prices we can't guarantee, so these are estimates. I think they're right, but I certainly can't warrant that. Also, a number of these properties are still in escrow, where the seller donor has donated the property, and the nonprofit has continued to do their due diligence, and they have not yet closed. We're asking you not to contact any brokers that you may find involved. You may run an internet search on some of these properties. They may well show up on LinkedIn. It has nothing to do with this deal. That may be where the seller had previously had it for sale, or they may still have looking for backup offer in the event that this tax doesn't close, the tax deal doesn't close. So be aware of that. I've identified properties here that are in escrow versus closed in our inventory. However, they're all headed to closing, but just do want to make sure everyone understands that they may be looking at, you may see these properties listed for sale somewhere, but they won't be at these prices.
Great. So a few other just sort of points of order. One is we've got an awful lot of chats coming in. So if you see a message that says a Distress Pro has left the chat, rest assured that the chat is still being manned and you can still ask questions there. It means that our people have had to jump on to a chat with somebody else. Okay. And then further, just to clarify my role, I'm not your I'm not your broker, your attorney, your clergy person. I don't represent you or anybody else in this transaction. I'm facilitating today to make sure that we get these out in front of the right audience. And so that is my role. Going forward, if you want to make offers, you want to see get inspections or documents or due diligence and all that kind of thing, you can do with Pat's team, and we're going to make that really, really easy for you at the end, right?
That's right.
All right. So I think we ought to get right into the, we're running out of time, Pat. Let's get into the properties.
Here, the first property I'm brought up on the screen is 19, almost 20 acres, a former car dealership, a redevelopment, retail opportunity, Fulton County, Georgia. The property is situated 1 mile north of the Atlanta Hartsfield International Airport.
Okay.
This is a property that was formerly listed for sale. When I say formerly, just very recently at $1,745,000. I've got approval to sell this property for $700,000 or $35,000 an acre. And when I say I'm going to give you a lot of per acre and a per square foot prices. However, they're not to be divided. It's the total deal is for sale.
Okay. Question from Brian is, do these properties have good title?
They do.
Okay, great.
And this property, most all the properties will have a phase one. Most of them are clear. If there is one that's not clear, we'll certainly tell you what we know about that property. But right now, for what we're, as far as conversation purposes today, you can assume there's clear title. These are unencumbered properties. And we're going to have surveys. We're going to have phase one information. We'll have a title policy up to the nonprofit ownership.
And what do you mean when you say phase one?
That's the phase one environmental study.
Right on.
That would indicate if there is some potential environmental issues. Doesn't mean that there doesn't talk about remediation or anything else, but just it tells you what the environmental issues might well be. If there's underground storage tank, some migrating groundwater contamination, something like that, we would know it. We think we know those things on these things. I think I've looked through the files enough to understand them. I won't warrant that I know, but as you do your due diligence, you'll certainly be able to find that out. But this is not a known environmental issue on this property, and it's available. All the parcels you see there are part of the sale.
We have a question with regards to process. I think what we want to try and do is keep this focused on the individual properties. Mike wants to know, however, why would the nonprofit not close on a donation? Is there some type of liability reason?
They're just in the process of where the donation was made, where they're going through the due diligence process. The nonprofit doesn't want to take something they can't sell. They don't want to take something that has an issue that's going to impact them, and they don't want to hold them they don't want to have a holding period. So, they'd like to have almost a simultaneous close on these, to where they could liquidate this property about the same time they take it. Again, right. They're not in the real estate business. They're in a nonprofit business, which could be in any number of things they could be there with what their purpose is, but their purpose is not real estate development or repositioning real estate.
Great. So maybe what we want to do, and I think we're probably going to still have some process questions as we go through here, but I'm gonna continue to try and focus us on some of the properties. What do you, when you look at this, Pat, what do you see as the opportunities here? Is there anything you want to discuss in terms of, is there anything that's come to mind, and who the end user or a good buyer, or good, the highest and best use of this kind of asset is?
Well, I mean, the location from the Atlanta airport certainly significant here. This is a retail type space. Metropolitan Parkway is as you can see in the picture, it's a multi-lane road. If you can zoom out, which I don't have, this is the only photograph I'm going to share here, but
yep.
You'll see retail development not too far away, Walmart and various retail. So I think you could be impressed with what you see there.
Okay, great. Well, let's keep it rolling. Unless you have some further things you want to talk about on this.
We'll go to the next one.
All right.
This is in the next property is 85,000 square foot warehouse facility situated on 26 acres. 63,000 of it is cold storage facility. It was in operation until June of this past year. The building's 100% sprinkled. It is fenced perimeter with a guardhouse. They had 250 employees when they were operating on this property. Had a new spiral freezer installed in 2008. And this is off US 460 between Roanoke and Fredericksburg, Virginia. It was most recently on the market at $1.3 million. This is a property that is in our inventory. It is closed. It's been approved for sale at $600,000, which is only $7 a square foot.
Wow. And so if you have questions about this property, I want you to go ahead and in the chat below, just drop them in there. And also what I think we should do is, if there are properties coming up that that you're interested in, if you want to let Anthony know in the chat before we get to him, then I'll make sure that we'll pay attention to him when we get there.
A lot of these properties that we've gotten recent broker price opinions on, BPO, you're going to hear me use that term. And so they'll have recent broker price opinions on them. And also they'll have our internal valuation there, which I'd be happy to share with you, our internal valuations, and talks about property condition assessments, things like that.
Right.
I'll go on to the next one.
Sure, sounds good.
No question.
I don't have anybody asking about that
one. This next
one.
one is in Calumet City, Illinois, which is the Chicagoland area. This is 42,600 square feet of divisible space, situated on 4 acres. It was a former furniture store. As you can see, it's a modern, updated storefront. It was formerly on the market at $2.5 million. The approved price on this is $800,000 or $18.78 a square foot.
Wow.
You couldn't, that's probably 1/6 of replacement cost.
And so what do you see as some of the opportunities here?
Well, almost any type of retail. It's a good location. It's, like I said, it was a furniture store before, so it's wide open, but it is divisible. There's any number of uses you could have here for this.
Great.
And it wouldn't take much for the sign and open the doors to get it up and running.
Cool. I think we'll just keep moving through until somebody interrupts us with the chat and they want to get deeper into one of these.
The next property is in Portsmouth, Virginia, and Portsmouth is across the river from Norfolk. This is a 17,000 square foot office building. It's on only a third of an acre. Formerly on the market for $600,000. It's a great looking building. Approved for sale at $350,000, which is only a little over $20 a foot. Again, any type of acquisition or replacement cost would be, as you can see, the price is half the price it was listed for sale at. Mm-hmm. Replacement cost is probably 4 or 5 times that. This is a downtown location.
Wow. So we're seeing pretty consistently that, I mean, this one's a little bit over 50%, but pretty consistently you're putting stuff up at less than half of last ask.
Now that truck there is not part of the sale, but I could probably find it and make a deal.
Perfect. So if you have any questions about this property, go ahead, pop them in the chat. We're going to keep on moving unless we do see that you want to talk about it a little bit more.
Okay. Next one's a 56,000 square foot in Mount Union, Pennsylvania. And Mount Union is west of Harrisburg, south of State College, east of Altoona, if you know Pennsylvania. Kind of the center part of the state. This is a former garment factory. Prior to that, it was a shoe manufacturing facility. There's 4 loading docks there. You can see it's nice ceiling heights, nice concrete floor. Approved for sale at $150,000, $2.68 a square foot.
Wow.
I feel like I'm selling furniture on Sunday on TV.
I can tell you that in the auction world, when I'd come up with a decent commercial property, something that wasn't total, redevelopment type of thing, and we were looking in anything under 50, I was doing jumping jacks, and slapping high fives. So it's seriously some good numbers that you're putting up. Do you have the age of the building in Virginia? Back one slide.
I do not offhand. I couldn't tell you, but I think it's older than older than 40 years old.
Okay, so if you are interested in that property, then you can do it now, or you can do it at the end. There's a button at the bottom. You can click that, and that is going to give you a list of properties that you can inquire about further, and we can get you more documentation on things like age and that kind of thing if we don't have the answer here today.
All right, we'll move to the next one. Is this in, I don't know how you pronounce it, Keokuk, Iowa?
I'm going with Keokuk.
You know where it is?
No.
Okay. Well, it's south of Davenport, Iowa, along the Mississippi River.
Okay.
It is on the Iowa-Illinois line there. Formerly listed for sale. This is 75,000 square feet on 78 acres.
Wow.
So this was formed in the market at $625. It certainly isn't pristine, but at $2.67 a square foot, I think a guy could certainly make some money on it. Now that square foot price is the improvements only. That's not including what the land costs. The land's included in this, but you got 78 acres, 75,000 square feet for $200,000.
It really seems like a lot of these properties you could kind of come in and dust off or whatever and do a proper marketing, term and just, I hesitate to use the word flip, but it seems like that.
I think if you had a can of pledge, you could make this property really shine.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next one.
It's Evansville, Indiana. And this is 241,000 square feet, huge facility on 11 acres, industrial property, formerly listed at $2.8 million. We have it approved for sale at $600,000, $2.48 a square foot. Again, huge facility. Just really inexpensive price.
Yeah.
Now these taxes would be current on these as of the date of closing. Typically, if there's delinquent taxes, I would probably know about it, but typically we're not accepting property that have delinquent taxes. Okay,
so a buyer should be able to expect, of course, pending their own due diligence, inspection, investigation, counsel, et cetera, but they should be able to expect that they're getting good title, clean, environmental, and without back taxes.
That's right. Now, as far as the taxes go, a lot of these are their tax assessment was based on their last sale price or on their formerly listed price. So you can imagine on a property like this, that probably was a tax assessment when it was around $2.8 to $3 million, and you could show an acquisition price of $600. The opportunity to get taxes reduced should exist.
Yeah, get right in there and get an abatement.
Next one is Mountain View, Arkansas. That's far north central Arkansas. 155,000 square foot facility, situated on 48 acres. This was an industrial property, was formerly on the market at $1.95 million. Now $250,000 or $1.60 per square foot.
Wow.
So if you have 48 acres and a 155,000 foot building, that's a lot of space.
Indeed. And so I think what might be helpful, since you've had a little bit of time to look at some of these, is as we're going through, if anything's come to mind for you on these in terms of the the opportunity, the exit, and that kind of thing, then let's just kind of touch on that so folks can get an idea of what you've been able to sort of glean from the information that you have that maybe everybody else doesn't have.
The first thing that comes to mind to me is that these properties have typically been on the market for quite some time at a certain price, nowhere near our price. You have a broker has a property on the market for 12 to 24 months, 3 years, at $2 or $3 million and can't sell it. They've probably had offers on it, and now you can buy that same property for 10% or 15% of that number.
Yeah,
the local market should be able to absorb these properties. You should be able to find end users for these. In most cases, from your local market.
That's what's really making sense to me as you're going through here with these types of assets.
Right. I mean, if you just say all I want to do is double my money, you should be able to achieve that quite on these with a little bit of work and thought on these.
Right.
I'm not suggesting you're going to go out in North Central Arkansas and rehab a 155,000 foot facility. You're probably going to clean it up a little bit. Maybe it's already clean. I don't know on these properties, but just get it back on the market and maybe talk to your local brokers and just see what they think they could sell it for. I think you'll find these broker price opinions that we're doing. We don't have one on every property, but you'll find that these broker price opinions are much, much higher than our number.
Great. All right, let's keep moving. I'm not having a lot of chats come in.
On Spicer's Mill, on Spicer's Mill Road, Orange, Virginia. If you know where Charlottesville, Virginia is, this is located northeast of Charlottesville, 35,000 square feet on 3 acres. It's got 3 loading docks. You see in this photograph, you see 1 loading dock on this side of the building, 2 more on the other side of the building. Approved for sale at $250,000 or $7.14 a square foot. Again, all I can say, these are by the pound prices.
Yeah, Charlottesville is actually just a fantastic area. It's booming right now. I spent about a month there this year. It's got UVA, and it's got a really sort of growing and busy downtowns, and it's affluent also, and so anything in that area I like. Okay.
Next property is Colorado Springs. This is a property is a 27,000 square foot retail office. Most recently a school. It's on the east side of Colorado Springs. It's formerly listed at $2.4 million to almost $2.5 million. We've approved it for the sale. This is probably one of the more expensive properties that we have. However, this property is ready to occupy at $36 a foot.
And if you have questions about that, go ahead and pop it in the chat. We know that Colorado is hot right now in a lot of ways. And this one in particular stands out to me just because the use and location is really being, even though it's a little bit on the higher end of some of the stuff that we're showing, but really stands out to me as one of the more interesting opportunities so far for me.
Okay. Next, we've got Vandling, PA, which is in north of Scranton. This is 160,000 square foot warehouse situated on 24 acres. You can see the loading docks there are modern type loading docks. It's got office space there in the front of it. This was on the market at $1.2 million. We cut the price in half of that to $3.74 a foot. This is not in the middle of nowhere. I mean, if you've been driven through this part of Pennsylvania, it's busy. This is where the oil, some of the oil play is going up in this part of the state, and so there should be some tenants.
Great.
This one is Sterling, New Jersey. Sterling, New Jersey is in southern New Jersey. If you went straight across from Delaware to Cape May, you probably go right through Sterling. South of Atlantic City, 31,600 square feet, 2.3 acres. I'm sorry, I told you wrong on location. I was another New Jersey property. This one is due west of New York City, 25 miles west of New York City, off Interstate 7, near Interstate 78. Previously on the market at $1.4 million. We've got it ready to go at $800,000, $25 a foot, and it's also a building that's ready to occupy. I think what you're seeing, when the building in the top part of the photograph is not part of this building. That top corner is the two buildings with the brown roofs.
Okay.
I have 25 residential lots in Rantoul, Illinois. These are not contiguous lots, but they are ready to build on. And I think somebody could do quite well here as well. Are you familiar with that area, Breck?
I'm not. No, I didn't in my travels over the last year, did not spend a lot of time in Illinois.
Okay. Well, Rantoul is near Champaign.
Oh, I have friends in Champaign.
Okay.
The university in Champaign also, yeah?
And it's right up Interstate 57 from Champaign. So it's not it's a good location. So these are residential lots that are ready to build on.
Great.
Next property is a Florida property. It's Avon Park, Florida. Avon Park is due south of Orlando, about 90 miles. So it's in the central part of the state, 109,000 square feet. Agricultural area. You can see that's probably the use of the building been before. Warehouse space situated on 10 acres. It was listed at $1.1 million, and we've cut the price in half on that to $500,000. $4.55 a foot. We're back to the per pound pricing on this.
Great. So it seems like we're taking a little bit of time for our viewers, our guests, to catch up with our feed. And so I've got a question about the New Jersey property. Did you have a BPO on that?
Let me see.
Are we talking about Sterling?
We're talking about Sterling?
I think you went past it.
Okay.
There you go.
I believe if we don't have one, I feel certain one's been ordered.
Okay. So we will either have a BPO, otherwise we can get, of course, can't really rely on assessed, but we have that for sure.
So we're learning more about it by the day.
Okay. Fantastic.
So we talked about Avon Park, Florida. We're going to move on now to Vineland, New Jersey, where I described in New Jersey earlier. If you go due east of Delaware, south of Atlantic City is where Vineland is in southern New Jersey. This is a really nice facility, 43,750 square feet on 3 acres. There's a tenant right now in 14,300 feet of it that signed a 1-year lease, but the lease is cancelable by the lessor if you don't want the tenant in there. But this is a building that's ready to lease and ready to go. It's got 5 loading docks. I think it's got actually a total, like there's 5 on one side, 3 on the other. We got it priced at $500,000. That's $11 a foot on a building that you can go lease tomorrow.
And so you're saying that there's a tenant in there now paying $36,000.
This week, a 1-year lease at $3,000 a month.
Okay.
Triple net.
Great. One more question back about the other Sterling property. Is it vacant?
It is vacant.
Okay.
Most of these properties that I've showed you today, matter of fact, all of them with the exception of Vineland, are vacant.
Okay. This is kind of a no-brainer, this one, Pat.
The next one is Delta, Colorado. Delta is out on in the western part of the state, east of Grand Junction. This you can see probably was a grocery store, I believe the last thing it was, a 24,000 square foot facility. Again, price per pound was on the market at just under $1 million, $250,000, $10 a square foot. You should be able to find some tenant to come in there and use this building. You've got a lot of room to work with it.
That is an area that I did spend some time in. It is growing, and there's a lot of tourism there, and it's coming up quite a bit, actually.
This is so now we've talked about these properties. When at the beginning of when we started talking with Brett, talked about we're going to sell 2 properties at whatever the bid we get is.
Yeah. Okay. So have we made it to have we made it all the way through our 16 and we're to the final 2?
Yep. This is the first one. This is number 17 of the 18 that we're going to show. This is in St. Louis, Missouri, 103,000 square feet. It's zoned multifamily. It's been most recently a nursing home. You can see it has that look about it. I don't know the area. I don't know much about it other than you could own it.
Right. For anything. Is that right? So let's clarify that. Explain the process. So you're letting this go regardless of price, at any price.
On our next call, we're gonna take live bids on it.
Okay.
So if you want to bid on it prior to that, that's fine. But we're going to sell this property.
No matter what. Right.
We've got approval to sell it for whatever we can get for it.
Great. And so in that case, that's where, if you're going to make a bid, you need to be able to act. You need to be able to act, close with cash, 30-day due diligence, and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then this next property, the last property, is in Union City, Indiana. I know as much about it as on the screen here. It's 26,000 square foot retail. It's a 2-story facility. You can see an attached garage there. Not sure what the last use of it was. But it's
so it's both the structures that we're looking at.
I think so. I mean, I have
that one on the left's not 26,000 feet. I'll tell you that, unless it goes real deep. So,
but it looked like they're built as contiguous.
Yeah.
Go back to my appraisal and look at that, but I've seen both sides of the other pictures of this building, so I'll reserve whether that garage is part of that. Looks like I think you're right. Looks like the brick building's probably 26,000 feet by itself.
Right. So can we back up one? Just back up one. How many rooms does this have? Do you know?
I do not know.
Okay.
I've got an internal study on that, though. I can get you all the information you need on this.
Okay.
But I just I don't. It hasn't been on my front burner other than I need to get rid of it.
All right. So, but you do have some documents on this, and
yes, we do have the same thing on this we would anything else.
Okay. Great. Do you see a multifamily play for this?
Well, it seems like that would be natural if it was a former nursing home.
Yeah.
Again, the zoning's right, but I don't know much about the property.
Sure.
Again, here's what our goal is that we're hoping that we're talking to people who are real estate people, and they'll dig in and learn about these properties. If we're going to go spend the time to do all those things, we would put it back on the market at higher prices. So
yeah,
opportunity here is the fact that we don't know much about it.
Yeah, very much like an auction.
We own it, and we want to get rid of it.
Right. Great. Do you want to go back to the next one? So do we have any other questions? Are there any other questions that you want to ask us about this? If not, then what we're going to do now is we're going to give you some instructions on how you can go to the next step from here. If any of these are things that you're interested in, we are going to leave this this particular broadcast up for Pat. What do you want to leave this up for 2 weeks or a week?
Do that. We'll do it for 2 weeks. Again, I'd like to see offers on these no later than the 18th of November.
So we'll leave it till then. We'll leave it till the 18th then.
And I tell you what, I firmly believe there won't be a single property available of these properties after the 18th of November. These will be sold.
Yep. So in order to take the next step, what you're going to see is below the chat button, there is a big blue button, and you can click that, and then you got a form, and on that form, it's got a list of all of the properties that we just went through, and you just check off the ones that you want to chat about. You're going to put your information in there. After that, and you can include a message with any questions or anything else that you need. That's going to go to Pat's staff, and then you'll also get a receipt from that inquiry. And you will, and in there you'll have Pat's contact information, so you can email them. We can make sure we coordinate getting you any inspection times or any due diligence documents that are available, or anything like that. And so we do have another question about the St. Louis property. Do you know when it was last occupied?
I don't know the answer to that, but I'll get you. I'll have a fact sheet on each one of these properties I can get to you very quick.
Great. So at this point, if any of the properties that we have there are something that you're interested in, or you want to get more information about, and Rob is asking, is it possible to tour anything prior? I think we covered that at the, let's just recap in case people came on later. People are asking if it's possible to tour properties and this kind of a thing. And the answer is yes. So we're not expecting you to buy these properties sight unseen. There'll
be somebody available to let you in any of these properties.
Although, Pat, it would be something if they just wire us some money right now.
They could do that.
That'll be all right. But no, you will be able to tour.
Full due diligence. We're expecting the tour of these properties. There's nothing hidden here other than we just don't know a lot about the properties. We haven't done those things. We haven't done studies. We don't know what the highest and best use for that property is. And that's why they're being offered the price that they are.
Right. And so we're going to give you the opportunity to do whatever you need to do on a condensed time frame, but you're going to be able to get to the property, tour the property, get documents on the property, do all of the investigation that you need to do in order to make a rational, reasonable, qualified real estate decision on the thing. And so at this point, what I'd suggest you do is click that button down below, the blue button, if there's any of these that you're interested in learning more about or making a bid on. And if you do have any further questions, then we're going to probably Pat and I will just chat here for a minute while we give you a moment to go ahead and type them into the chat box. And then if not, then we'll just kind of wrap this up and we'll take further discussion offline when Pat's team engages. Right?
Yes.
You want to tell them a story or something, Pat, while we wait for folks to get in there? Tell us a little bit about it's interesting. I can't believe that I hadn't heard of the Section 170 before, and certainly I've heard of the donate your car and all that kind of thing. Can't miss it on the radio, but
it's not that much different. It's this has been available for a long time. Like so almost as long as the income tax has been around, it's been available for charitable donations. The amount of charitable donations in this country is mind-boggling. It's $360 billion a year.
Wow.
The amount of real estate, my understanding, the amount of real estate that transacts per year is about $8 billion of real estate is donated per year. It's traditionally been done not by real estate firms, though, probably by financial advisory groups, especially Wall Street type firms that are money managers for wealthy individuals and corporations. And quite frankly, that stuff never sees the light of day.
Right.
No, they donate it. They're not calling Breck and Pat about buying it.
Right.
So there are some restrictions. They do have to have this appraisal done, this 561, and that's kind of the holy grail of the value. It's typically much higher than the value is on a bank appraisal because they're looking more toward replacement cost. The seller, probably the hard part is the seller has to be able to use the tax deduction. And so distressed properties probably don't fit in that. Surplus properties is probably a better name for these than distressed. These are properties somebody had on their books, probably didn't have any debt on it. And it's been sitting there and they said, I want to get $5 million for it. And they waited 2 or 3 years and didn't happen. So it's a much bigger industry than I ever thought it was. As far as I know, Wellfont is one of the few real estate companies that does it exclusively, if not the only one that does it exclusively. The CCIM has a lot of information on the internet about the 170 exchange, and those 30, there's 13,000 CCIM members, and so they've been involved in it. But it's a challenge to find properties that where the seller can afford to donate something and needs the tax benefit both. And so that's what Wellfont is really good at, sourcing those properties. And I think you're going to see me back here with you once or twice a month with a dozen to 15 properties at a time.
Great. And so I'm hearing from some folks that they're not able to see the button. We're testing it on our side now, and we can see it. If you scroll all the way down beneath the chat, you should be able to see a big blue button says get more property info or make a bid. If you're not able to see that for whatever reason, then just drop your name, email, or just send a chat to Anthony and say, I can't see the button, and he'll send you a direct link to it. I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be able to, but if you can't, if you're on a different kind of device or something like that, then definitely let Anthony know, and he's going to send you a direct link to the property inquiry form so you can engage us there.
And Breck, I think you put my contact information there on the screen, or?
Right now we're looking at your disclaimer. Do you have your contact information to put up?
I don't.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll send out an email to everybody who's registered with your contact information for this. And that way we can make sure that everybody's got what they need. Does that work?
And so the next step on this, Breck, is there will be, if they are interested, they will be sent a confidentiality agreement and just a one-page questionnaire, because is this confidential information, and we certainly it's not something that's out there on the market. Right.
All right, great. Well, that's really good, Pat. I think we came in under time. We came in about 53 minutes here. So that's pretty good for getting through 18 properties. I know that you probably have some questions that you didn't want to ask live or you didn't want to divulge. And we want to make sure that we get those answered for you. Just in case you came in late and you missed the preamble, what we're going to do now is, if you're interested in any of the properties that are on the list, then you can go ahead and drop your information into the Get More Property Info or Make a Bid button. Click that, and then there's a short form where you can just check off the properties that you're interested in, give your contact information. We can take it from there. Pat, I want to thank you for giving us first opportunity on these. I think, you haven't done this with anybody else, right?
Yeah, not.
So you're getting these first, and I think that's really huge, and I really appreciate it. You can't ask for much more than, regardless of price, and 30 and 40% off of appraised or last ask price. So really great. Thank you for coming on here. And at this point, if you want to take the next step, then you will receive an email from us with Pat's contact information, but you want to click on that Get More Property Info or Make a Bid's big blue button right below the chat, and from there we can engage, get you property tours, get you other documents that we have, BPOs or whatever else there is that you need to be able to make a decision. And do you want to recap one more time which properties are being sold regardless of price? That means that these will sell no matter what to the best qualified bidder, no matter what the price is. And they are 4518
Blair, St. Louis, Missouri, right on the screen. Yeah. And 197 West, I think that's supposed to be Pearl Street. Looks like I dropped an R.
That's all right. I read it as Pearl anyway, so I don't know why. But that works. Pat, I appreciate you coming on. I'm going to stop this broadcast, and then this will be available for rewatching. If you're a broker and you have somebody who you think would be interested in one of these properties, then what you could do is you will get Pat's contact information. You can also send them back here until the 18th. We'll have this running.
And the fastest way to get it to me right now is to go through to Breck's site there, fill out that information form, and that way we get turned around quick as possible.
Yeah, and on both sides we have staff who are available immediately to get those documents together for you.
All right. Thank you, Breck.
All right. Thanks, Pat.